Every crisis is an opportunity for growth. This is the great, cross-stitched lie of modern corporate America. Let's ground this in basic biology for a moment. If a starving grizzly bear breaks through your living room window, your central nervous system does not frantically scan the environment for an opportunity to optimize your cardiovascular endurance. It does not reframe the shattered glass and the roaring predator as a chance to pivot your evening plans. Your brain floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. It prepares for immediate, violent survival. Yet, when the corporate equivalent of a bear attack occurs, you are expected to sit quietly, plaster a smile on your face, and write a thank you note to the predator. Imagine the scene. Your company just laid off 20% of your department on a random Tuesday morning. The desks around you are suddenly empty. Your workload has instantly doubled, and the surviving staff is vibrating with a quiet, terrified hum. Management does not acknowledge the chaos. They do not apologize for the blood on the floor. Instead, Human Resources sends out a mandatory, company-wide calendar invite for a seminar on resilience and the growth mindset. You find yourself sitting in a sterile, poorly ventilated conference room, listening to a vice president who makes triple your salary. Explain how this unfortunate market contraction is actually an exciting chance for you to stretch your capabilities. You feel it right then, don't you? That hot, blinding wave of rage rising in your chest, instantly smothered by a dark, suffocating wave of shame, because you are not finding the hidden blessing in the crisis. Shame because you are not leaning in. According to the relentless stream of LinkedIn gurus, hustle culture podcasts, and corporate wellness pamphlets, your exhaustion is a personal failure. You are supposed to be agile. You are supposed to be grateful for the friction. You came into this career as heavy, expensive cardstock. You were unblemished, rigid with ambition, with crisp edges ready to bear the weight of responsibility. But year after year, quarter after quarter, management has systematically crumpled you up, smoothed you out, and crumpled you again. They feed you through the heavy, indifferent iron rollers of the corporate machine, pressing the life out of you until you are left paper-thin, fragile, and entirely translucent. And now, as the gears jam, as the metal grinds and the pressure threatens to tear you completely in half, they demand that you view the teeth of the shredder as a tool for your own personal development. Before we dissect exactly how this psychological manipulation works, I want you to go to the comments and confess the most insulting, sanitized buzzword your company has ever used to mask a disaster. Was a brutal mass firing called a strategic realignment? Was an impossible, underfunded mandate pitched to you as a synergy initiative? Leave it below, because naming the poison is the absolute first step to neutralizing it. We have to name it, because what you are experiencing right now is not a lack of resilience. It is not a failure of your mindset. The corporate weaponization of the growth mindset is one of the most successful psychological shell games ever executed. It is a brilliant, terrifying mechanism designed to take the catastrophic, systemic failures of leadership and dump the consequences entirely onto your psychological framing. They broke the machine, but they are telling you the problem is that you just aren't folding yourself correctly to survive the wreckage. Dr. Carol Dweck did not publish her foundational research on the growth mindset so a bloated executive board could justify running a skeletal staff into an early grave. Her work was genuinely beautiful in its original context. It was designed for elementary school children who were struggling with long division. It was meant to teach an 8-year-old that failing a math test did not mean they were inherently stupid, just that their brain was still developing. It was a gentle, empathetic, pedagogical tool meant for nurturing young, vulnerable minds in a safe, controlled environment. Watch how quickly that innocence was weaponized. In the hands of modern corporate management, this psychological framework was hijacked, stripped of its empathy, and mutated into an instrument of mass compliance. It has become the ultimate mechanism for corporate macro gaslighting. When a company wildly miscalculates its quarterly projections, or a disconnected C-suite gambles millions on a doomed market strategy and loses, the structural integrity of the business buckles. The logical, ethical response would be accountability at the top. Instead, leadership enacts a brilliant, cynical sleight of hand. They repackage their catastrophic incompetence as a developmental hurdle for you. The burden of their systemic failure is transferred directly onto your shoulders, wrapped up tightly in the cheerful, suffocating language of personal development. Suddenly, an underfunded department, a frozen budget, and an impossible deadline are no longer symptoms of a rotting organization. They are an invitation for you to show your agility. The heavy, iron gears of the company are jamming. The structural cogs are grinding against each other, smoking from friction and terrible design. But instead of shutting down the factory floor to fix the machine, the operators simply demand that the material being fed into it become infinitely more resilient. They demand that you, the paper, somehow learn to tolerate the crushing weight of defective steel. You are expected to fold yourself into increasingly unnatural, jagged little shapes just to slip through the grinding teeth without catching fire. This is profound institutional betrayal. It takes a very real, very physical deficit, a lack of resources, a lack of time, a lack of competent leadership, and aggressively frames it as a psychological deficit inside your own head. If you crack under the immense pressure, if your edges begin to fray and your spirit begins to tear, it is not because the machinery is a death trap. It is because you lacked the grit. You lacked the vision. You were too rigid, too stubbornly fixed in your mindset to see the beauty in the struggle. They have built an entire corporate culture around convincing you that bleeding on the factory floor is a character flaw. They want you to believe that if you just read one more self-help book, if you just optimize your attitude, the crushing weight of the press will somehow feel lighter. But your exhaustion is not a personal failure. It is not a temporary lapse in your work ethic. It is a meticulously designed, highly profitable feature of an industry that treats human life as disposable pulp, ready to be pressed, flattened, and entirely consumed until there is absolutely nothing left to extract. To understand exactly how this extraction hollows you out, we have to stop looking at corporate strategy and look directly at your neurobiology. When you are forced to sit in that brightly lit conference room and absorb the shockwave of a mass layoff, your brain is violently shoved into a state of severe cognitive dissonance. You are being forced to hold two aggressively opposing truths in your mind at the exact same moment. The ancient, primal architecture of your nervous system is ringing a deafening alarm. I am in danger. My livelihood is threatened. My boundaries are being violated. But the sanitized, professional mask you are required to wear is simultaneously transmitting a contradictory, mandated signal. I am perfectly fine. I must smile. I must show gratitude for this new operational challenge. This is not just emotionally uncomfortable, it is biologically devastating. The act of feeling a visceral, protective rage, but forcing your facial muscles into an agreeable, compliant nod, requires a staggering amount of neurological energy. Behavioral psychologists call this somatic suppression. You are actively wrestling your own fight-or-flight response into submission, suffocating your own survival instincts hour after hour, email after email. That vibrating, suppressed anger you feel sitting at your desk isn't just a bad mood. It is a trapped biological response demanding physical action. Constantly strangling your own instincts causes rapid and severe ego depletion. Your brain's executive function, the prefrontal cortex responsible for decision-making, focus, and self-control, burns through its finite reserves of energy, just trying to keep your professional mask from slipping. This is why you stumble through your front door at 6 p.m. completely hollowed out, lacking the cognitive capacity to even decide what to boil for dinner. You haven't just been working on spreadsheets. You have been physically holding back a dam from bursting. To guarantee your compliance, the corporate machine overlays this neurological drain with a dangerous psychological trap known as toxic teleology. This is the deeply ingrained, almost religious belief that all suffering must have a purposeful, meaningful endpoint. The growth mindset cult demands that your pain cannot simply be pointless corporate collateral damage. It must be a stepping stone to your ultimate self-actualization. You are forced to endlessly search for a silver lining in a sky that is made entirely of ash. When you inevitably fail to find spiritual meaning in doing the jobs of 3 laid-off coworkers, imposter syndrome sets in. You start believing that because you are exhausted and cynical, you must be defective. Under this relentless, grinding psychological friction, the crisp, resilient cardstock you used to be begins to fundamentally change. You are no longer that sharp, heavyweight paper. The constant, forced positivity, mixed with the underlying, unacknowledged terror of unemployment, acts like standing water soaking into your psyche. You become wet cardboard, structurally compromised, bloated with unexpressed anger, heavy, exhausting to carry, and tearing at the seams under the absolute slightest tension. You find yourself snapping at your partner over a misplaced coffee mug, or staring blankly at a blinking cursor for 45 minutes, convinced you are losing your mind. But you aren't failing to cope with the workload. Your mind is quite literally tearing itself apart trying to survive a biological lie. To medicate this biological lie, the corporate machine does not offer to lift the crushing weight off your chest. Instead, it offers you an aggressively marketed, highly monetized array of pacifiers. Enter the booming billion-dollar industry of hustle culture wellness. Your human resources department benevolently gifts you a corporate-sponsored subscription to a meditation app. Your favorite LinkedIn influencers insist that the cure for your systemic burnout is waking up at 4:30 in the morning, plunging into a freezing ice bath, and meticulously filling out a leather-bound gratitude journal before the sun even rises. You are instructed to practice deep breathing mindfulness on your miserable, hour-long commute. But let us be brutally clinical about what these solutions actually are. They are not pathways to personal enlightenment or self-actualization. They are industrial sedatives, administered to keep the workforce docile while the factory extracts every last drop of value. They are meticulously designed to neutralize your most powerful biological defense mechanisms. Gratitude journaling in the face of relentless corporate exploitation is not resilience. It is a psychological tourniquet applied to a severed artery. Forced mindfulness is deployed specifically to sedate your perfectly justified, righteous anger. End quote. Because if you are meditating to tolerate abuse, you are not achieving a higher state of consciousness. You are simply transforming yourself into a highly optimized, frictionless victim. The machine absolutely loves a Zen worker. A Zen worker does not demand overtime pay. A Zen worker does not push back against a toxic manager. A Zen worker quietly absorbs the shockwaves of terrible leadership without ever threatening to jam the gears. This entire ecosystem of productivity planners, habit trackers, and corporate wellness retreats is what we must recognize as false origami. It is the tragic, exhausting illusion that if you just manage to fold your edges perfectly, you will somehow become immune to the crushing weight of the press. You convince yourself that if you color code your calendar, optimize your sleep architecture, drink your powdered greens, and crease yourself into the exact, precise shape of a high-performing asset, the heavy iron rollers will miraculously stop grinding you down. So you fold. You fold your personal life away to accommodate an evening conference call, bending your boundaries until they snap. You fold your profound exhaustion into a tidy, bullet-journaled checklist. You fold your dignity into a deep, sharp crease just to survive a humiliating quarterly performance review. But no matter how beautifully, how intricately you fold yourself, no matter how geometrically perfect your origami swan appears to the outside world, you are still made of fragile paper, and you are still trapped inside a dark, heavy machine fundamentally designed to consume you. All you have actually accomplished is compressing yourself into a smaller, denser, more compliant shape. You have made it entirely effortless for the teeth of the shredder to pull you in, tragically believing that a tighter fold equals a thicker armor. It does not. The blade cuts just as deep, and the extraction is just as violent, no matter how many times you overlap your own margins. To survive the machine, you must absolutely refuse to fold. You must reclaim your biological right to be pessimistic. For years, you have been aggressively conditioned to view your anger as a toxic defect, a dark, unprofessional stain on your pristine record that needs to be scrubbed clean with forced positivity and morning meditation. But anger, in its purest neurological form, is a necessary protective mechanism. It is the brilliant, visceral response of a nervous system that clearly recognizes a boundary is being violently breached. Reclaiming that anger is not a descent into bitterness. It is the ultimate, profound act of self-care. It is the biological armor they desperately tried to convince you to shed. The true paradigm shift is not finding the hidden opportunity in corporate exploitation. The shift is embracing the cold, quiet art of radical underperformance. This is not about failing or self-sabotage. It is about the intentional, calculated refusal to give 110% to a structural apparatus that offers you exactly 0% loyalty in return. It is deciding, with a clear and sober mind, to be merely adequate by the machine's impossible, bloodthirsty standards. When they double your workload without doubling your compensation, radical underperformance means simply letting the excess tasks spill onto the factory floor. You do not absorb the friction. You let the gears grind. You let the system feel the heavy, undeniable consequences of its own broken architecture, rather than letting it use your sanity as a lubricant. It is time to unfold. Uncrease your identity from the tight, suffocating little shapes they demanded of you. Smooth out your crumpled edges and lay claim, once again, to your own wide, blank margins. Stop trying to bloom and grow in soil that is deliberately poisoned with ash, exhaustion, and bad management. You are not a bad employee, and you are certainly not a defective human being for refusing to smile while being fed into the heavy, indifferent teeth of a shredder. If management reaches into your personal life, trying to pull you back into the iron rollers, trying to compress your boundaries into something small and silent, do not fold. Let your edges harden. Let them feel the resistance of heavy stock, and do not be afraid to leave a deep, sudden paper cut. If you are tired of the corporate gaslighting, and you want to continue dissecting the psychology of the machinery you are trapped in, subscribe to the paper cog. Stay sharp. Don't let them fold you.